Hello, welcome back to Learn Economy. In this video, we are going to look at demand for money by looking at the Friedman's restatement of quantity theory of money. We have seen that the original quantity theory of money has been proposed by Irving Fisher, and this has been criticized by Keynes. And as a reply to the criticism posed by Keynes, what Friedman has done is that he has taken the quantity theory of money put forward by classical school of thought or Irving Fisher. Then he has given his own interpretation, which is later known as restatement of quantity theory of money. The same would be discussed in this video. Okay. So we know that Milton Friedman is considered to be the father of monetary school of economics, and he has given an explanation to the original quantity theory of money, which is known as the restatement of the quantity theory of money and prices. He believes that money function plays a very important role, as in money has a stable function in the economy, and he treats money as one among the assets. We have got plenty of assets, diverse set of assets like wealth, your income, your interest rate. So we have a set of assets or diverse sets of assets. He considers money as just one among these assets. And as per Friedman, business firms view money as a capital good or a factor of production, which they combine with other kinds of productive assets in order to produce the goods and services in the market. And as per Friedman, individuals hold money for the services it provides to them. Then he says that the service rendered by money is something unique, and also it serves as general purchasing power that you can conveniently use to buy goods and services from the market. His approach to demand for money does not consider any motive for holding money, nor it does distinguish between the speculative and transaction demand for money. We have seen that Keynes has distinguished three different types of motives. I have explained all these things. The theory proposed by Fisher and Keynesian theory of demand for money in the earlier videos. If you haven't watched those videos, please go and watch. Please do that, because it is only after watching those videos, watching or understanding the concept of restatement of demand for money would be helpful, because that would be more understandable. So I'll be providing the link of these two videos in the description box. You can use the same. Now coming back to this theory, we can see that Friedman considers demand for money as an application of the general theory of demand for capital assets. And these commodities also yield a stream of income, but in kind rather than money. Okay, so the basic yield of commodities, we know that it is implicit one. However, as per Friedman, any explicit yield from commodities in the form of expected rate of change in the price per unit of time should also be considered. So we have to understand the determinants of Milton Friedman's demand for money. We can see here that demand for money, MD, is a function of several factors. If you convert the nominal variables into real variables, you can see that MD by P is a function of WH, RM, RV, RE, P, delta P by P and U, where MD is the nominal demand for money and MD by P is a demand for real money balances. W is the wealth of individual. H is the proportion of human wealth to total wealth held by the individuals. RM is the rate of return on your money, or the rate of interest on your money. RB is the rate of interest on bonds. RE is the rate of return on equities. P is the general price level. Theta P by P is the change in the price level, which is also known as inflation. And U indicates institutional factors. Now coming to the role of wealth. In this case, Friedman has looked into not only human wealth, but also non-human wealth. By human wealth, as per Friedman, the value of an individual's present and future earnings belong to human wealth. Whereas in the case of non-human wealth, this is something that is easily converted into money, so that this is considered to be liquid. Okay, liquid is something that you can easily convert it into money. So substitution of human wealth is not easily possible. Substitution of human wealth with non-human wealth, and non-human wealth with human wealth, and this kind of substitution is not possible, or it is something complex, considered to be complex. Thus human wealth represents illiquid component of wealth, and the proportion of human wealth to non-human wealth has been included in the demand for money function as an independent variable. Okay, and the individual's demand for money directly depends upon the total wealth of the individual, and the total wealth represents an upper limit of holding money by the individual, and this is similar to your budget constraint. We know that your budget would impact your transactions. The budget would determine your transactions. The greater the wealth you have, the more money you will demand for transactions, and as a country we consider its demand for money for transaction and other purpose would increase. Since as compared to non-human wealth, human wealth is much less liquid, Friedman has argued that as a proportion of human wealth in total wealth, when this proportion increases, there will be greater demand for money to make up for the illiquidity of human wealth. Now, coming to the rate of interest or rate of return, we have seen three different types of rate of return or rate of interest. RM, that is your return on your money, RB, return on bonds, and RE, return on equities. Here we have to understand that money held as saving deposit and fixed deposit earn certain rate of interest, and it is this rate of interest which is designated by RM. And given the other rates of return or rates of interest, we have to understand the higher the rate of interest, higher would be the demand for money. And if you look at the opportunity cost of holding money, what is the opportunity for cost of holding money? You have to look at the rate of return on other assets. Whether this rate of return is something that is bigger or larger than the rate of return or rate of interest on money. We have to compare these. As the rate of return on bonds or equities rise, the opportunity cost for holding money would increase, and this will reduce the demand for money holdings. Thus, demand for money is negatively related to rate of interest. When I say rate of interest in this scenario, rate of interest in bonds, equities, and other non-money assets. Now, coming to the third factor, price level. Price level is something that influences your demand for money balances. Higher the price level means people require large amount of money or large not quantity, large volume of money in order to carry out all their transactions. If money is used as a proxy, if income is used as a proxy for your wealth, then this is considered to be one of the most influencing determinant of demand for money, and then the nominal income is given by YP. This would become a crucial determinant of your demand for money. So here Y stands for real income and P is your general price level. As P goes up, the demand for money will rise, and vice versa. As a matter of fact, people adjust the nominal money balances to achieve their desired level of real money balance in the economy. Now, coming to the expected rate of inflation, that is delta P by P. If people expect a higher rate of inflation, then they would reduce the demand for money holdings. This is because inflation would reduce the value of the money balances that people hold in terms of purchasing power and all. If the rate of inflation exceeds the nominal level, then there will be negative rate of return on money. Therefore, people expect a higher rate of inflation, then they tend to convert their money holdings into goods and services, and then it won't be affected by inflation. This is their expectation. And on the other hand, if people expect a fall in the price level, then their demand for money holdings would increase. Now, coming to the last factor, which is considered to be the institutional factors. So these factors such as the mode of payment of wage, bill payments, etc. also affect the demand for money. There have been many other factors as well, like the overall economic environment. That means whether it is recession or depression in the economy, all these things would affect your demand for money balances. The instability in capital market, if you take that case, you can see that this would erode the confidence of the people who would be making profits in the economy, especially from their investment in form of bonds, shares, equities, etc. So this would also raise the demand for money. So even political instability in the country influences demand for money. So in order to take into consideration all these factors, institutional factors, Friedman has included the variable U in his demand theory of money, or the demand for money function. Now, how can we simplify Friedman's demand for money function? We have seen that it has included a whole lot of factors which play a very important role in influencing the demand for money. So here we have to understand that a major problem faced in using this kind of functional relationship is that non-existence of reliable data about the value of wealth. Okay, we know that people, they won't give their correct data regarding their wealth they possess. In order to overcome this kind of difficulty, what Friedman has done is that he has suggested that since the present value of wealth, uh, uh, it is something that can play an important role. We can take the permanent income as a proxy in order to calculate the wealth of a person. Incorporating this in Friedman's demand for money function, we can see that MD is equal to YP, H, RM, RB, RE, P, delta B by B and U. These are the factors influencing the demand for money. If you assume that there is no change in the anticipated institutional factors such as H and U, these factors would remain fixed in the short run, and all the other three rates of interest can be clubbed into one. Friedman's demand for money would be simplified. This could be simplified as MD is equal to function of YPR. So that's it. Please like, share and subscribe this channel for more videos. And also I welcome you to my Telegram group and Telegram channel to discuss your doubts and to get it clarified. So that's all.